If I gave you the choice of two doors, and the first one was $1 million, and you could take the money home today, or I told you that you could choose door number 2, and if you chose this door, I would give you 1 penny today, but I would double your money every day for the next 30 days. Which would you choose? If you've ever studied or read about exponential growth, you've probably seen an example like this before. What seems like such a small amount of money and such small growth in the beginning can become huge over a relatively short period of time. And what started as 1 penny on day 1 miraculously becomes over $5 million by day 30. So how can the same idea of exponential growth help us to build a better version of ourselves? For all of us, there's the person we are today and the version of ourselves that we want to be. If you're anything like me, you've spent a lifetime trying and frequently failing to reach your goals. It could be anything: losing weight, writing a novel, learning a language, saving money, finding a partner, or even becoming more spiritual. Maybe you've tried a bunch of different strategies, each time setting some kind of high goal for yourself with the desire to reach it in the quickest time possible. But what if there was a different way? Maybe it's time to start thinking small. What would it look like if we applied the concept of exponential growth to habits? What if you were able to get just 1% better at something every day for a year? Not double like in the previous example, but just 1%. How much better would you be by the end of the year? Amazingly, you would be more than 37 times better. But let's not get carried away. Obviously, you want to have some fun on the weekends. So let's say you only improve 5 days a week for a year, and only by 1% each time. You would still be more than 13 times better. This idea has radically changed the way I view my habits, and has helped me to accomplish many more things. And I thought it might be helpful for you too. So with this idea in mind, here are 4 tips for building better habits. Number 1, the starting line. One thing I've noticed over time is that a lot of my life goals come without deadlines. As a lifetime procrastinator, I was always able to get my tasks done in school because of the looming deadline. At some point, usually the day before my paper was due, my anxiety would overcome the obstacles that were stopping me from starting, and my fear of getting in trouble would motivate me to get my tasks done. Now, however, my goals don't have deadlines, at least not external ones that someone else will enforce. So my decision to start can effectively be put off forever. This is one of the reasons why it's so important to focus on the starting line rather than the finish line. And that leads me to my next point. Make starting easy. Since our aim is to improve 1% every day, our focus should be more on our trajectory rather than how close we are to our end goal. The most important thing is to make sure we show up each day. To do this, it's necessary to understand and control friction. Friction in this case is anything that causes resistance and keeps you from doing a certain task. If your ultimate goal is to write a novel, then friction could be things like the time commitment, motivation, effort or difficulty in figuring out what to write, finding a place to write, and many other things. Whereas your other choice, staying home and watching Netflix, has little to no friction. If we can decrease the friction for writing, the choice will become much easier. So how can we do this? Well, there are many ways, but one that I've found that helps me the most is setting a small daily goal. And when I say small, I mean small. Something extremely easy for you to accomplish. For writing, maybe that's 100 words a day, or even 1 sentence a day. The idea is to remove friction and make it easier to start. It doesn't mean you have to stop once you reach the goal. But you could, and if you did, you should still view your effort that day as a win. But the truth is, once you start, you are likely to continue past your daily goal since you've already broken through the most difficult part, starting. Next, I recommend using the 2-day rule. This rule means that you're allowed to miss 1 day, but never 2 days in a row. It's important to give yourself some breathing room. Sometimes things will come up, and too often people give up on their new habit just because they missed a day. However, you need to draw a line somewhere, and if you miss 2 days in a row, you're effectively starting a new habit, just a negative one. Adopting the spirit of the 2-day rule with a focus on exponential growth over time has really helped me. There is one thing to note with this though. I recommend not adding the tasks from the missed day onto the next day's tasks. For example, if your goal is to write 1,000 words a day and you missed on Monday, I recommend keeping your regular goal of 1,000 words for Tuesday. Don't make it 2,000. The reason goes back to the previous tip. If you combine them, it will add friction, and this can lead to killing your new habit, especially if you had to miss a couple days in a row. This leads me to the 4th tip. Identity change. One way to look at a habit is that it's a series of choices or votes for the kind of person we want to be in the future. Each day, we decide to make our vote for the kind of person we want to be. And then someday in the future, we decide to look back into the box and count the number of votes inside. And if we see that there are more votes for, say, going to the gym versus staying at home and watching Netflix, our own identity begins to change. We start to identify as a person who goes to the gym. This identity is more defined by consistency than it is by how long or how much we actually did the task each day. And it in turn affects how much we will do it into the future. Once we become a person who goes to the gym or a person who writes in our own mind, it becomes our normal, and there is more friction to not write. We're always moving in one direction or another, based off of our choices, and these choices are ours to make. We just usually aren't paying attention to where they lead. Many people get discouraged after starting a new habit. Maybe they're trying to lose weight. They start working out every day, but see little return for their efforts. One thing to remember is that at the beginning of this trend line, you will see minor increases. Remember, after 10 days of doubling your money, you would only go from 1 cent to $5. The beginning of an exponential curve can seem like very slow gains. You might compare it to an ice cube being cooled from negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit to 31 degrees Fahrenheit. Visually, it seems like nothing has changed, but actually, everything has changed, and you are now just 1 degree away from a drastic visual change. I know this video is a little different than my previous videos, but the information has been helpful for me, and I thought it could be for you as well. If you've enjoyed this video, or even if you didn't, let me know in the comments. Also, let me know what habits you're trying to build, or break, if you feel comfortable sharing. Also, most of what I presented here was covered in a book I read called Atomic Habits by James Clear, and I wanted to give credit where credit's due. I've left a couple Amazon links in the video description below, if you're interested in reading it. Thanks everyone. Are you still here? Why? Go. Start building your new habit.